everybody. Welcome to Our Healing Voices podcast and YouTube channel. I'm Aaron Lehman, and I'm really excited for episode 27 interview today with Nikki Gomez. And those of you who are brand new to the Our Healing Voices world, this launched about a year ago, really with the intention, just from a space of curiosity, honestly, a space of curiosity where I'm on this body, mind, spirit, wellness, healing path. And I know that I'm not the only one, but sometimes in our lives, it can feel like, is anybody like locked in on this with me? You go out and you just wonder like who else is engaged in this evolutionary process consciously. Right. And so I think that, that stirred this like curiosity of, as I keep meeting different people, I'm like, holy moly, that story that you just shared, like that is wildly amazing. Can we record that? Because it's just incredible what each of us humans has been through. Each of us energies has walked through. And I think being aware of what other people have walked through and how they've moved through it, how they've overcome it, how they've evolved through it. I just think hearing those stories reminds us that we can do it too. Maybe it's time for us to make a shift, or us to add something new into our life that could help us move in a different way, in an expanding way. So healing, body, mind, spirit, wellness. That's a motivation, is like hearing people's stories that are engaged in that journey, and then also just like the voices aspect. Just wanting us all to realize our voice is crucial. And that, that we all are worthy of a microphone, like we're all worthy of a microphone. We all could write a book if we really like got real with ourselves about what we've walked through. We all have a book inside of us. And so just wanting to bring voices forward that have captivated me, that have inspired me, and, and just bring those forward so that we can all learn together, grow a community, and maybe connect with one another. Really at the end of the day, like connect with people that are like-minded, that are doing that work. Or maybe somebody today listens and is like, oh my gosh, I got to do some work with Nikki, or I've got to bring Nikki over for this event. I just want to be, also serve as a connector of those of us evolving beings, consciously evolving beings. So, all right, that's my intro on the Our Healing Voices. Welcome, those of you who are back again. Thanks for being back. Really appreciate your support and just staying locked in on this journey. Know that I'm cheering you on from over here, and know that I don't have any idea what it's like to be any of you, but just know that I'm cheering you on with what you're walking through, and that I believe in you, and I know that love is constantly calling us, it feels like to me. So that being said, love is calling us. Nikki and I, last summer, like August, we connected via a San Diego conscious connected community through Facebook. And holy moly, Nikki, when I first saw, like, Nikki posted, was looking for a space to stay out in San Diego. And I was like, oh my gosh, this being is so shiny, so warm, like just like your energy. As I said beforehand, it's this, you invite breath into my life, where sometimes I can just get so, I don't know, task oriented, stress, or like just do it from a place of stress versus a place of breath. And, and then we lived together. She came and lived with Sarah and I for like 3.5, 4 weeks or something, and shared space. We sang lots of karaoke, lots and lots of karaoke, because that was like confirmed right off the bat on our first Zoom call. We were like, you karaoke? Oh yeah, I carry. And so, yes, we may share about karaoke at some point today. Anyway, Nikki is an incredible model. She's a modeling coach. She helps other models like find their way within the industry and really, level up if they have specific goals. She's like a great guide. She's been in that industry for 17 years. So has just incredible wisdom when it comes to the modeling world. She's also an angelic reiki healer and has yeah, I would love, yeah, I'll have you kind of expound on both of those
Yeah.
zones. Then yeah, anyway, and she's living in Tulsa and shining her light there right now, and I'm just thankful to have you here and really excited to have you on the podcast. So all right, I'm going to pass the mic,
Yeah.
and I just would love for you, like, fill us in a little bit about you. Like, all right, 44 years old, looking like you're 24, rocking life in so many different ways. Like,
Yeah.
how are you who you are?
First and foremost, I love that we talked about the fact that we got to be a family for 3.5, 4 weeks, and the relationships continued with both of you because you guys are literally so high vibrational, so lovely. Literally, I think if people ever have a doubt that there are still lovely, amazing souls in this world walking about, like, you guys are a prime example because you live that every day. And when you meet people, it's infectious. That love and that caring and that kindness is infectious from both of you. So it's a testament to you as well. And just like, how blessed was I that you answered my ad? And I was like, okay, like, these people are amazing. I was like, okay, I found my place to stay. Like, these people are my people. So yes, I'm really happy we connected. So about me, so I've done modeling and photography, and I've been an agent in New York, and I've done all the fashion things, right? And that was a big part of my journey, and it's a big part of my career. But along the journey, along the way, there was always this reminder that there's more to life, and there's a need for peace, and a need for purpose and wellness. And I think for a long time, I lived an existence where I was kind of like exhausted, especially like grinding in New York City, right? You do that for 40 something years, you get a bit exhausted. So I was exhausted, but I was also very hard on myself for being exhausted. Like, I didn't understand why I couldn't just buck up and suck it up and grind like everyone else, right? Why this was so much harder for me for some reason than my counterparts and my coworkers, and I didn't understand where they got all of this energy to keep grinding. And so it took basically a major medical scare for me to accept the fact that I just am not built that way, and I need to shift my life and my goals so that it's more reflective of my energy. And having that compassion for myself was a very big journey for me.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Say more about this. So you said a medical situation was like light bulbs went off. I'm not going to choose to keep after this grind vibe. Like, that's not how I was built. That's not what I want to do. That's, or
Yeah.
you know, or whatever. Like, yeah, tell us a little bit more just about
exactly
that shift is hard. I mean, you're living in New York City. Everybody's doing that. It's the way, right?
It's the way. I feel like the Mandalorian. Yes, it is the way. That is
right?
exactly what, when you're born in New York, that's kind of in your blood, right? And everyone around you is on the same hamster wheel, going and going and going to achieve these goals, which, it's great if that works for you, if your energy has the capacity to sustain that, but some of us just don't. And so my good friend Bree Seeley, she used a great metaphor. She calls it a spiritual 2x4. So when you are constantly ignoring the fact that something needs to shift, or that you've got to make a change in your life, there comes a spiritual 2x4 to hit you over the head and say, uh-oh, you didn't make a choice, you didn't make a change, so here is now no choice, but you have to make this change. And for me, that wasn't a medical scare. It was me. I took a vacation. I was working as an agent in New York City, and I was commuting an hour and a half each way, which was strange because it's not even that far from where I lived. But, New York rush hour, whatever, hour and a half each way, 9-hour workday, no break or very few break. maybe a 15-minute break here and there. And I was managing over 500 models and I was the only employee at the time, which, fine, but it ended up being a lot for me personally. And instead of me listening to my inner voice that said, maybe you need to shift things. Maybe you need to, find something else that's more suitable to your energy. I just kept going and complaining and feeling this burden on my shoulders. And I didn't know how to shift out of it because I was doing what I was supposed to do, right? After over a decade at that point in the fashion industry, after working on every side of the industry and gaining all this knowledge, I thought the logical next step was to be an agent. And that would be like, the apex of where I'm supposed to go with this. And so I was sucking it up and I was grinding. So fortunately, I took a vacation. I went to Italy. And what an eye-opening experience going to Italy. And it kind of just showed me like, okay, wait, there's siestas, there's, people take their time when they eat their dinner and it's not this rushed experience, right? So when I came back, I had a discussion with my lovely boss, who we are still friends. She's amazing. And I just said, we're going to have to work out breaks. We're going to have to work out a different situation so that I work better here and feel more at peace for my own energy. Well, only a couple days after that, I was at work and I was feeling stressed and I literally felt this horrible pain in my abdomen on my left side. And it was so bad that like I buckled physically. And pretty much I was told by my boss and my coworkers at the time that my face went white, like ghost white, like all the colors, the freckles, everything just kind of went pale. And I ended up collapsing and being rushed to the emergency room. I had never felt pain like that in my entire life. I've never broken a bone. This was a whole new experience for me. And all I could think was stop the pain. And so I ended up in the hospital. They were doing tests in the emergency room for over 8 hours, and they still couldn't determine what was wrong with me until they did an MRI. And almost immediately after the MRI, I buckled in pain all over again. I went ghost white. I started sweating, tearing, crying, and doctors rushed out and said that I had a life-threatening situation. I had a renal artery aneurysm, which is the rarest aneurysm to detect in the body. And they need to do an emergency blood transfusion right in the emergency room, pretty much like right there. So I signed okay. Then they found an operating room and we cauterized the artery. And then I was in intensive care for 5 days, in the hospital, a total of 8 days. And then it took about 3 months to fully recover. So it was my spiritual 2x4 because in the hospital and after, I was determined from there on out to live my life with my own gifts that I have, to explore them, to share them. I wanted to make a living off of my passion of photography. I kept saying, I don't care if I have 5 things to do in a day for work, as opposed to sitting in one place, I'm going to do that. Like whatever it takes for me to feel the fulfillment that I need in this lifetime, I'm going to do. And ever since then, I've been an entrepreneur, and it's been over 6 years. I've been working for myself and chasing after my dreams and goals.
Whoosh. I got chills throughout that whole share. Just okay. Yeah. The spiritual 2x4. And then, so how are you able to make that shift? I think that like, as I hear you, like, so the last 6 years now, just really, it was like, okay, done with this corporate sprint to somewhere, to somewhere, right?
Who knows
like,
where,
done with
too,
the
right? We all go where after this thing. We're like, what are we chasing? I don't even know what we're chasing sometimes.
Seriously. Yeah, no, I hear that. So yeah, so it's like, how did you make that shift? Like what's, yeah, clearly that takes intentionality, intentional work.
Yeah, it's a process. I was very blessed that I was able to maintain the relationship with my agency. They actually still represent me. Like they send me models for working and stuff. So it was a intentional shift. It was a lot of transition time. So it requires patience, right? Because you're not not necessarily going to leave a corporate situation and suddenly flourish as an entrepreneur. So I was very fortunate that I had that relationship. So I was able to go back in and consult with them while they were making the transition with me leaving. And I was able to help them. And so they paid me for that. And then on top of that, I was very fortunate to have a partner who was supportive, who was working full time. So while I was finding my footing, I was getting the assistance that I needed. But I'll be honest, things started to shift, life started to change. Even my living situation, I had been at the same place for 7 years. In time, while I was going through this transition, I lost my place. And all I can do is go internally and say to myself, okay, why and what is the purpose behind this? And what is the bigger lesson? And even in that, the bigger lesson was, you've been stagnant. You're trying to create a new life. You're trying to create a new reality. And sometimes you have to let go of the things that you're used to call in the new. And so in that mindset, I was able to shift it. And instead of wallowing in that moment, I was able to say, okay, well, let's make this an adventure. Let's make this a challenge. Let's grow from this and allow whatever I'm supposed to learn from this experience to continue to develop me in the way that I need. And so that's how that shift it was almost like becoming homeless, but I was able to consciously say, okay, I am giving this up. The universe is showing me it's time to give this up and to accept a new reality and to grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so proud of you. And I mean, that's some real talk on just the entrepreneur. It's not like now everything's just flowing wonderfully. It takes big intentionality, and you've definitely just continue to pour into those passion zones. I think that's what I've, while you lived here and just as we've followed each other here the last 9-10 months or whatever, it's you're committed to your passions.
100%.
Like you're just locked in on this is my zone, my zones of genius, and you're like, how can I show up in these zones?
Yeah.
For myself, for other people.
That's exactly it. And that becomes, once you go through these shifts, right? And we all go through them. Everybody literally goes through shifts and changes. It's a choice, right? And so when you go through that shift, you make the choice to hold on to what no longer fits your lifestyle or your vibration of energy, or to embrace that something new is coming. And you're right. If you can hold on to your zones of genius, if you can hold on to your talents and say to yourself, okay, this is what I love to do. This is what I'm focused on. You will find your path and you will find the determination to move forward and make that successful and make that sustain you. I feel like when we hold on to things that no longer serve us is when we struggle the most, because we're holding on to a safety net that's no longer there, and we're dramatically holding on to it. It's like, you got to let go to grab the new. You can't hold both things when your hands are full. You have to let go of something to make room and be able to embrace the new thing. And that's what I was forced to do. And that's what continued to help me grow so that I could embrace my gifts more and I can embrace my talents and then develop those and then help them continue to sustain me and grow.
So what, as you're sharing, it's like, what would you offer if somebody was listening in and they were new to the entrepreneurial path? Like, how, you've been walking through it, like, what are a couple just like must, because you're saying it's like, you've got to let go of that little that blanket that you think is protecting you, but it's actually distracting you and holding you back. So that's,
allow yourself to leap is a big one. It's the scariest. I feel like that's the first and scariest step, right? It's like, oh, I have this safety net and I'm going to get a paycheck from this thing. And that's what I need. And that's the only thing I can have. But when you're in that position, you can't see what's coming. You just can't. And even if you hold on to a safety net, let's say a corporate job, right? So one of my previous lives here in this incarnation, I worked in finance. I worked in finance for 7 years in New York City. And working in finance, I saw so many people get laid off, and it was annual. It was annual, and it was right before the holidays. And it was people that worked at the companies for 30 years, 25 years, who bought houses, and they built their whole life around this job. Well, the truth is, even if you're the most perfect employee, like, you can get laid off in an instant. So that illusion of safety is an illusion most of the time. I feel like if you take the leap and you go into entrepreneurship, you actually have more control to create your abundance than if you depend on something else that may or may not be out of your control. So take the leap. It's scary. If you have a passion inside, if you have a dream and you decide to take that leap or take the steps towards the leap so that you can jump eventually, you'll get there. It's going to be a ride. It's going to be a little bit uncertain. You're going to have to invest in yourself. You're going to have to invest in your knowledge. You may have to invest in a coach, but ultimately you're going to get closer to what you actually want to do and feel more fulfilled doing it than you would if you hold on to the thing that you think is a certain sure safety net.
Yes. So invest in yourself. You may have to invest in a coach. Like, say more about that. Because you talked about Bree earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, so tell us a little bit about that and how important that's been for you as you've been launching.
I mean, just having someone in my corner to give me a perspective, a new perspective. I think that's maybe the best part about working with any type of coach, is that, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know, right? So you don't know what to ask sometimes. You don't know what you're missing. You can't always see the broader perspective of something. And so to have someone who's an expert in the field and is not emotionally invested in every aspect of your business is a lifesaver, because now this person can step back and say, oh, look, you actually have been doing A, B, C, and D. You can monetize this part of your business and continue to expand it out, as opposed to just doing, this one thing here. There's all of these aspects of your business that you may be able to, sustain yourself with without even understanding that you can do that. And so that's partially what I do with model coaching, right? So with model coaching, models have always believed, and it's the common belief, that you get discovered, you get scouted, you get signed to an agency, and now you're a working model and you can live off your modeling money in places like New York City and LA. And it's like, no. Yes, it may happen like that for a few people, but in actuality, a majority of models have to actually grind, and they have to grind in a way that they understand that they're taking a lot of their career in their own hands, right? So me as a coach, I'm able to say, okay, you need a strategy. Like, what kind of model are you? What kind of images do you need in your portfolio to be successful? What kind of photographer should you be shooting with? Do you know the brands that you should be working for? Do you know how to contact these brands? Like, yes, your agent is going to do some of it, but they get paid 20%. You're responsible for the other 80. And so having that bird's eye view helps them be model entrepreneurs, so they can see how to successfully navigate their careers. And so it's the same on every level for an entrepreneur. Having somebody just say to you, okay, you've done A, B, C, and D, but what about this? Did you know that you can make this all work together in tandem? And it's like, oh, I didn't realize that, And so that's the part where it's like, yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're taking that leap, really think about investing in a coach, or, maybe having a mentor or fellow mentors, other women, if you're a woman in business, or other, people who are entrepreneurs in your circle, in your group, to just kind of help each other see the bigger picture.
Love that. Such good stuff. Like, that is so critical, right? Just because at the end of the day, I mean, we've been injected with Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 since we were little. Yeah. Some of us more so than others, right? But a lot. Like, it's just been injected. So when you're learning the entrepreneurial ways and figuring out how to keep a schedule or have some sort of schedule that works best for you, right? Having somebody else with another set of eyes to be able to be like, yep, Aaron, great. I like what you're doing here. And also this, have you thought about this?
Yeah. And I love what you said just there, right there, with what works best for you. Because I think that a successful entrepreneur, first and foremost, knows the way that they work best. 9 to 5 doesn't work for me. I'll be honest with you. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. My mind and my creativity are on at 11 p.m. sometimes. So if I restrict myself to 9 to 5, that natural inspiration, my muse, doesn't show up. And then I'm frustrated. And then I'm working against myself, right? So if I say to myself, okay, you know what? Tuesday through Thursday, I'm doing my portion of my administrative work, right? Or I'm doing my marketing work. Okay, and then that may be 9 to 5. But maybe Monday and Friday, I'm doing my creative work, and that could be any time of the day. And I allow myself the freedom to work that way because I will create and I will be inspired by just allowing that as opposed to structuring it for myself. Other people need the structure. So it's really about what works best for you.
So that's amazing. That's amazing. And you do, I mean, it is such a unique path, right? I mean, it's easy to be like, okay, do what like if a model came to you, I'd be like, all right, do what Nikki tells you to do. Exactly. It's like, or take Nikki's guidance and, and then make it, work with it and so that it works for you, right? And I think for me as a coach in our little oily world, it's like navigating each person's unique way of doing things. It's not going to be Aaron's style or whatever, and that's okay. No, and
it's so good to even like acknowledge that, because you're right. We've been trained in society to always be like, A, B, C, and D work for so-and-so. They're successful. That means that's going to work for you. And it's like, no, it may not work for me at all. We all have different ways of doing things, and our success is really determined upon working with our own flow and our own energy as opposed to working against it. Because you actually waste more time fighting yourself and then beating yourself up because you didn't do what you thought you were supposed to do, instead of just allowing it to happen. When you allow it to happen, you can be in the flow of it and create some magic, because you're not spending that time feeling guilty, feeling bad, beating yourself up, like that's, if we think about how much time is wasted on that alone, you take that out of the equation and you can do so much more.
Are you saying that I may spend a little too much time in those energetic, shame stories? Oh my gosh, Nikki, the other day I watched very aware of climate change, but I watched a 14-minute video on climate change, and just like, I had, I started the day with a bunch of balloons, and like, after I watched that video, the balloons had just been like shot down. I had no balloons, and I was like energetically done. I was just done. And it's like, so it's sorting through, like, as we all design our days, right? It's sorting through like, okay, if you're going to watch this video, be prepared. If you're going to dive into this article, be prepared for how that's energetically going to impact you,
Yeah. And we always underestimate like the effect of these things on us, right? I think what I try to do daily is I try to wake up and check in. So like check in with myself. Okay, Nikki, how are you waking up today? What is going to bring you closer to your goal? Am I going to wake up and watch the news? But how will that affect my day? Maybe that means it's going to be a day where I'm just going to be like a little more sluggish, a little more down, because it's low vibrational, because, we see a lot of bad news just because it's ratings, right? So you have to kind of choose, okay, check in. How are you going to start your day? What is the fuel that will feed you for your energy for the day? And so I'm not the best at it all the time, but I will say that I make the intention to do that, because I am aware of the energy that I will leak and the energy that I need to do the things I want to accomplish. So that's the first step for me. That's the first step in the day. It's like, what? I'm waking up. Do I want to get up and stretch? Do I want to do a meditation? You know, like all of these things will help me start my day in a more effective way than just getting up, having coffee and watching the news, and then feeling down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a trip, right? To just to be, I guess it's just like it's being honest with myself. Like, actually, I can't consume that, like, and have an effective. I can't shift it that quick. Sometimes I'll look at stuff that, more to like motivate me. Like I'll use it as like fuel, like you said. It'll be like, okay, this is why you got to keep going. This is why you got, like. But a lot of times, well, the other day, I just like, boop, popped the balloons, and I had a rough next couple hours, and then finally I listened to something better and shifted it back, But this is the journey of entrepreneurship and just being a human, right?
Yeah, I feel like this is consciousness. Consciousness is literally being aware of your energy and your inner voice. So not just your outward actions or appearances or words, but what is going on internally that you can take note of and have a relationship with, instead of just running on autopilot. So like for me, the consciousness journey over the last, I would say consciously 6 years, has been about that inner conversation and then the outward choices as opposed to reactions. And that can be applied to your entrepreneurship, that can be applied to your well-being, your health, all of the things when you're tapped into your inner voice, really make a difference.
Yeah, so let's go there for a bit. This inner voice, this I do like whenever I hang out with you, I'm like, I feel like you're so locked in, like tapped in, and like, so, I was reading your bio before we hopped on, tell me a little bit about that journey, just energy, angels, source, and, just like, what am I doing here? Where did that all begin? You shared a little bit in the bio, but I'd love for you to share a little bit with the community here.
I'll share all the things.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
So I think, the funny thing about me is I can remember all the way back to age 2. And so I remember my inner conversations with myself at age 2 and having a certain awareness about the world and people around me. And that kind of stayed as a thread just my whole life. And so as a child, unfortunately, I actually encountered a lot of trauma. Both of my parents, beginning at age 9, were involved in drugs. They were addicted. And so I had to grow up very fast, but I already had a level of maturity that a lot of people didn't understand at that age. They'd be like, why are you so mature? Why you have it so together? And I'm just like, I don't know. This is who I am. And so, yes, I would like go to my mom and say, for instance, okay, mommy, I think we have to call rehab. Like at age 10, I'm like, let's go to the payphone and call rehab because we didn't have a phone. So like things like that were very much a part of my awareness already. And then I would do things like, I didn't grow up with religion, but I would pray and talk to angels. And I'd ask for things like, please, like if like, things get violent between my parents, please let the cops come right away, or please. And then like that would happen, right? So like these things would just kind of just start to happen that I knew that I specifically asked for. And then there was a bigger awareness, like, okay, maybe there's something bigger than me, greater than me at play. And so although I was going through the trauma and I was going through that situation, I always felt like I was guided and protected. And so that stayed throughout my entire life. And with that came all of these inexplicable, paranormal, supernatural things. So things like having dreams and then a week later them happening, and or seeing like beings passing through the space, or so. And then I started to control my dreams, like all of these things, right? So I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. There's a lot of things, but all of these things were happening that I couldn't explain, that forced me to continue to go internally. And then I just kind of put it aside for career, put it aside for survival, put it aside for marriage, put it aside for all the things that, you go through in life. And then the 2x4 happened. the spiritual 2x4 of the aneurysm. And then I kind of had to go back inward and just say to myself, okay, well, what were those things? Who am I? How do I operate? Who's been guiding me? What are all of these, like, how come I didn't die when I had that aneurysm? Like, what are all of these things? And so when you start to go in that way, you get guided. You do get guided towards the answers. And so from there, I was like guided to a medium who would become my mentor because of all the supernatural stuff I was able to tap into. And even through her giving me a reading, she said, "You're a healer." And she knew without me ever telling her or touching her or anything that my hands would get hot if I was around people that were in distress or physical pain or emotional distress. And she said, you got to find your modality. This is what you do. You're a healer. This is what you're meant to do. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever that means, And, like, because what do you say? What do you do with that? Right. When you don't really know, it's just like, okay. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up Googling Reiki. And I know you're a Reiki practitioner as well. And so I know you do traditional Reiki. So I was just like expecting traditional Reiki to come up. But the funny thing is the first thing that came up in my Google search was angelic Reiki. And there's one teacher in New York, and I reached out to her and she offered me a wonderful like scholarship type of program to get certified. And within one wonderful weekend, I was certified to be an angelic Reiki practitioner in 2017. And since then, I literally feel like I'm working with angels. I can't tell you the divine love that comes from that type of modality and being able to help people with that. And so I just feel blessed to be able to bring that consciousness and that energy to our third dimensional world and to people that maybe never even think about it or think about asking their angels for assistance, and just bringing the awareness to them that there is a possibility that your angels could be assisting you. And it's just about you asking and allowing that energy into your being.
Woo. I mean, I'm like, all right, next time we hang out, I'm definitely signing up for a session.
I've been wanting to give you and Sarah a session. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, you are a healer. You are a healer, 100%. Like it's what I said at the beginning. It's like the breath, you just remind me like you're good. You remind me like you're good. It's like this, like you just bring that energy of loving compassion, honestly that's amazing. So as you shared a little bit, kind of went back into younger years.
Yeah.
Age 2, like you have like the memory that and like memories. That's incredible. And then had all these mystical experiences, went through some tough stuff. You grew up super quickly.
Yeah.
At nine, you were already like doing shit that I struggled to do at 39. You know what I mean? Like,
and add to that, like, raising 3 siblings on, all under the age of 10. So like, while my parents were going through their struggles, I was changing diapers at 3 a.m. and missing school and making bottles and taking them to the grocery store with me every day. And so I experienced what mothers would experience very young, and had all of the other things going on in the background with the trauma and the supernatural encounters. So it was a lot. It was a lot of stuff, which is why my life has to be very peaceful right now, because like I already paid my dues. I need to just chill.
Yeah. Real talk.
Yeah.
Real talk. Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, as you, what's the last, so would you say the last 6 years has kind of been like that spiritual 2x4 has been the like, it's like a return to peace sort of thing. It's like this recognition where all that, like, tons of healing has happened. Obviously, like, we're healing all the time, right? But
yeah, I want to say yes. I would say more or less. I don't want to make it sound so like rosy, because when you start to come into your own and you start to embrace your true self, your most authentic self, and I know that that's kind of a buzz thing right now, but when you really start to do that and do the work and say to yourself, okay, who am I, what do I need? You're going to lose a lot of things. Like you're going to have to let go of friendships, relationships, homes, jobs. Things are just going to kind of start falling away. And that is hard in the moment because you don't have the perspective to know why, or all you feel is the loss. And so I don't want to glorify it so much because there is going to be loss and pain when you're on this journey. But I will say, ultimately, you get more aligned with what better suits you and the next phase. So yes, I've lost some relationships with certain friends, but I've gained friends that are more aligned with where I'm going and better understand me, and give me more space to grow. And I, in turn, give them space to grow. And we actually help each other grow. As opposed to, I've had friendships that were more competitive or a little bit more surface. Now it's much deeper, much more respectful and profound. And then that allows me to just continue to flourish on my journey. The apartment, right? I held on to a studio apartment in the Bronx that was in a great neighborhood, but was too small, not reflective of my taste and style, and not where I want to go in my life. And now I'm in the apartment that I've always wanted, that I dreamt about, when I was in New York, that I thought I could have there, but I've had to let go of my dreams and expectations of New York City to embrace something different, something that presented itself later that I had no idea was coming. So now my home is a reflective of who I'm becoming. It's exactly what I wanted. And so, yeah, it's going to be hard on the journey to embracing yourself, and healing yourself. But ultimately the healed you will be a more formed sense of self than you had before.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, as you share, it's like how to, not to, be so rosy, right? It's like
Yeah.
the healing work you've been doing, that you've been engaged in, is like next level work, and it's not, and it's, I hear you saying it's like, it's painful, like, and I mean, it seems like you have such like a perspective on what you walked through, that's like, you're able to see it as like what was supposed to be, even if those of us on the outside would be like, holy how is that okay? Or, like, this is not like, how did that happen to you? How is that still happening right now? It's like,
Yeah.
it freaks most of us out imagining what you walked through as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that is also, in our society, we're kind of so afraid of pain, right? We're so afraid of getting hurt or our loved ones getting hurt, that we focus so much on the hurt, but we don't understand that that's how people grow. It just is, and it's not to glorify that you should be hurt, but it's to understand that in that moment, when something goes terribly wrong and you are put in a situation that you will be hurt, your soul is given the free will to choose how you will grow from it. You can choose not to grow from it, and that's fine too. As much as that sounds like a horrible thing, it's fine too, because that might be part of what you need. Is you might need multiple things, or it might be next incarnation, right? That you choose to grow from something. But I'm fully aware that what I went through was for me to grow. And I think because I was able to be in touch with my consciousness in a way that made me see the bigger picture, I've always been able to kind of see the bigger picture, even though I'm going through the pain or the unaware of like what's going to happen later. I can always kind of look back and say, okay, I had to go through that. And I'm grateful that I have a perspective that I've grown from, as opposed to the alternative, which would be to allow that to break my spirit, right? So, things like, for example, I had to go through experience recently, I'd say like maybe 3 years ago, where I said to myself, okay, I have to look at the relationship with my father. My father and I Don't have a relationship. I don't know if he's alive or not. I disowned him when I was 14 years old, because he was an abusive person, violently abusive to my mom and my brother, and emotionally abusive to me, and didn't want to acknowledge that. Yeah. And I asked him at 14, I was like, can you acknowledge what you've done? And he refused. And so that's when I said our relationship was over. What I was able to do 3 years ago was tap into his energy and gain perspective that he sacrificed our relationship to be the villain. He chose, I would say in pre-incarnation, maybe, who knows, right? This is my theory, may not be what resonates with most people, but pre-incarnation, I believe he chose to be the villain, because had he not been, I wouldn't be able to develop the way that I have. I wouldn't be able to have the perspective that I have. And so I'm full of gratitude for his soul and for the deeper understanding of the journey because of what I went through. You know, there's no hate or resentment. It's more like, okay, you made the ultimate sacrifice so that I would become the person that I am, so that I can heal people, so that I can give perspective and wisdom on this experience that otherwise I wouldn't have.
Ooh. Yeah, I'd like to breathe that in. Holy moly.
Yeah. It's heavy. It's heavy, but
that's heavy. That's real. I mean, that's heavy. That's real. That's like, yeah, that's difficult to do.
It is. And, you know, we see memes all the time that's like, you know, forgive, because, you know, once holding on to that is not really hurting the other person, it's hurting you. And that in that moment, I had the greater understanding of that, which is, yeah, if I hold on to this person hurt this, that, and this, that, and like, oh, anger, like I'm only going to bring that anger and embodiment to my energy, into my space. And then what happens when I heal people, when I put my hands on their shoulders, I'm carrying that, I'm transferring that. Yeah. That's not going to be right. That's not going to heal me or someone else if I hold on to it. And so this is what we say when we say do the work, right? Do the work, do the healing work. Right. It is ultimately, it's you going through your traumas and you're facing them, and then you're choosing then, while you're going through the healing process, to gain a new perspective so that you can continue to grow. We can hold on to our perspectives of our experience and let them eat at us, but where's the healing in that? Where's the growth? And how can you heal others if you haven't chosen to heal those things? And that was very important to me. It's very important to me to choose to heal the trauma so that I can effectively give light and healing to others.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for sharing. That. That's huge. That's so huge, so intense. It's like, yeah, I mean, you know, Sarah and I both, I probably shared this before, but it's like we went through like 3 years of just like, honestly questioning, like childhood traumas were coming up, and then just kind of questioning, can we walk through this together? And now, as we're out of that space, it's, you know, I still feel like there's some of us that we like, anytime a memory from that 3 years pops up, it can be energetically deflating. You know, it can be like energetically like just not serve us well. And we could even like almost write that 3 years off as a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm sure I'm not alone on that, where people just literally will be like, yeah, that was kind of rough. That was bad. Or whatever, you know, like, and it's like, wait, hold on a second. Our traumas from childhood that we thought we had worked through resurfaced. We had to face them. It wasn't pretty. It was not enjoyable. It was hard. It was, you know, like, so how to have a perspective on it, as you're saying, where it's like not gonna like throw 3 years into the trash bin. You know, it wasn't.
Look at you now. Look at even
Right.
just doing this work, right? Having this podcast and having people share their journeys. That's got to come out of your awareness because of what you went through. And that in turn gives to others. So, you know, the beauty of this horrible trauma is that now you have such a gift of perspective that you can offer to others so they can choose to do the work as well. And you and Sarah, I mean, I said it in the beginning, you both walk with light. Like there's so much light in your hearts that's tangible. And so if that came from you working through these things, then, you know, great, you know, like,
Right. Yeah.
you know, I think that's a great thing. It's just about understanding that unfortunately, without pain, without trauma, without these experiences, and it's different for everyone, right? Totally. What we may think is small could be big to someone else or vice versa. So there's no judgment on the type of trauma, but going through anything like that offers such a unique perspective and gift to others if you can process it and heal it and not let it control you in that way.
Amen.
Yeah.
So one question is, what's giving you hope right now? Like in this world, you know, in the world as is, you know, it's been an interesting,
to say the least.
It's been an interesting 15-ish months plus, right? Interesting. Yeah. Okay. What's giving you hope? Because I mean, we can all hop on the news and be like, and like you said at the beginning, you said ratings.
Exactly.
Strategic placement of horrible things, you know, but there is horrible things, you know. So what's giving you hope right now? Like as you're in June and you're in Tulsa and you're like pursuing your passions, like what's lighting you up right now? What's giving you hope?
Part of what gives me hope, there's a few things, right? It's not one thing. So I think one of the things just off the top of my head is life surprises. Like there are, yes, you can focus on the bad ones, but there's so many little good ones that can light up a day that I see. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like Tulsa, like who knew I'd end up in Tulsa? I didn't know that wasn't part of the plan. I was trying to live in San Diego. Right. I want to be in that sunshine with the beautiful behind me like you. But life presented a new opportunity and I was willing to go for the ride. And it's been full of surprises, amazing, wonderful people that I resonate with, opportunities that I've never had before, things I've always dreamed of, you know, new social circles, nightlife, like all of these things that I just kind of didn't even foresee have just been coming up, right? And so life surprises, and we all have them. We just gotta like sometimes pay attention. They're so affirming. They're so joyful. And I think another thing that I've been consciously doing since maybe 2016 or so is I always say, be the light, see the light. What I mean by that, and it's something that goes back to even Mr. Rogers, you know, Mr. Rogers always said, even in tragedy, if you look around, you find good people, you find people doing good things. Just open your eyes to the fact that people are always doing good things. And if you look, you'll see them. You'll see them handing out food to homeless people. You'll see them opening doors. You'll see them helping old ladies across the street. You'll see them doing the things that you thought people stopped doing. You just have to look. And so open your eyes to it and appreciate it. So that gives me hope, you know, seeing people do amazing things gives me hope. And then if I don't see people do amazing things, then I'm going to choose to feed the homeless guy on the street. I'm going to choose, because from there you call in more, you know, that energy makes more of that energy visible to you. And so there's choices we can make every day to keep that hope alive and to keep that humanity going in a positive way. And I know some people would say, oh, but what is that? You know, that is way bigger than people even understand, because making one person's day makes another person's day. It just continues to grow. So you may not see the bigger impact, but there is an impact.
Yeah. Oh, I love those. Yeah. Be the light, see the light. Really. Yeah. I mean, just, yes, that's huge. great perspective on just like hope and being like showing up, seeing what people are up to, seeing how those shifts are like showing up and serving when you can, where you can. And it is, sometimes I really do think that it feels so inconsequential, right? Sometimes I even like, I did like a little meditation on my Facebook the other day, and I'm like, oh, like, did anybody see that? You know what I mean? Like, I pretty much did that for myself, you know, like, I don't like, but just, you never know, right? You never know. Like, and those little acts, even just me being in gratitude, you know, you said you were meditating before this. It's like, that is energetically shifting things, right? And so it's how to be a part of that energetic warmth, right? That warmth, yeah, the light energy.
Yeah, I think that, unfortunately, especially like in Western culture, right, we don't think about energy as a thing. Like we just,
Right.
like, yes, it powers this, or, the internet's on, like whatever it is, but we don't think about the fact that we are energetic beings and we're constantly exuding this, field of energy around us, and people are doing the same. I mean, we've all walked into a room and said, I can cut the tension with a knife. We've all walked into the room and people have been like, hey, and you're like, hey, like that's all energy. And people sense it. You sensed it through my photos on Facebook. I sensed it through talking to you guys on, Zoom. Like it's tangible. And so we have to give it more credit, because yes, that ripple effect of meditation, that ripple effect of doing something kind for someone, that ripple effect of smiling at people, it actually is tangible and it does make a difference. I almost wish that there was a way to put on like glasses and we can just see all of the energetic fields that happen all the time, because then we'd be so much more conscious of what we're doing and giving off and receiving.
Wow.
But I feel like I can sense it all the time.
Yeah.
And not to toot my own horn, but like,
No.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in a space where people just get drawn to me and say, your energy. And I'm just like, huh? Like I'm not even thinking about it, but that just shows that it's happening all the time.
Yes. You are energy. You are energy. It's like, it's always so exciting to get to connect and seeing you in Tulsa was so good. And just getting to like spend a little bit of time with you at karaoke and then brunch the next day. It was like, yes, please.
You guys filled my cup. I was so happy to see you guys. Like seriously, I can't. Cool. We've thrown around the term soul family before. Like you guys are literally soul family, because if my energy is here, you guys are here with me, and that's how come we were able to connect that way and continue to do this work together. So it's real, it's tangible. Like you're proof of it, like Sarah's proof of it, I'm proof of it. Like we all have it. Everybody.
Oh my gosh. And just as you're talking about that, it makes me think of you're also an incredible chef. Like, holy moly, you I remember like a night where you made Sarah and I a meal and we watched a movie and we enjoyed some cannabis, and it was like this otherworldly, like it was an otherworldly experience. That your food like had your love in it. It was just so good. And anyway, I was just recalling that as you're talking about energy. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so fun.
I was like, the energy and the food.
Really,
with intention. And I think that, that's also a testament of just being creative. It's like, that's another part of expressing my creativity and my love for people. That's my love language is, let me feed you. Let me show you, let me share, wisdom or an experience with you so that you understand who I am a little bit. And, for me, it was really important because I got to share Puerto Rican cuisine with you, and I got to make it, vegetarian for you guys. And it was an experience. And I'm so happy I got to do that. And you were able to receive that from me as well.
You've kind of turned into a Tulsa karaoke superstar is what I've understood.
Yes.
You tearing up stages and is what it sure seemed like when I was there. I was like, oh my gosh. You like karaoke every Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
You're making it happen. Think about why like this whole singing journey I feel like there's so many of us that just put it in a Tupperware and like grow, you were saying it earlier. It's like you become an adult or whatever, and you get this job, and then you do all the things.
Yeah.
And there's so many of us that I think want to sing
Yeah.
every
I
week.
mean, I that was the first thing I started doing at age 2 is I started singing. I was just like, I was getting up on my toy chest, you know, for Christmas that year. I remember I got a microphone. My mom got me a microphone and a speaker, and I would get up on my toy chest and pretend to be, you know, the singer. So that was always in me. And then unfortunately, because of my situation, my father, he actually gave me stage fright. Like the first day I met him when I was 9, and I was like, I'm gonna sing for you. And I sang Whitney Houston. I think it was, gosh, The Greatest Love of All. I sang The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston, who was my idol as a kid. And instead of, you know, being like, yay, my daughter sang to me, which is what you want your dad to do, right?
Definitely.
He said, okay, you did this wrong. You went into this head voice. You should have been you're too much in your nose. Like, all of this stuff that I just met this man who's my father just like broke it down. And so for years, I had the worst stage fright. I was in choir. Whenever they wanted me to do a solo, I would cry afterwards because I felt so self-conscious. I would go to auditions with my friends who were also in choir and drama, and like, you know, I auditioned for, I think it was Jesus Christ Superstars, and I literally forgot all of the words on stage at the audition. I stood there frozen. So it's been a journey, like, to find my voice and get past that fear, to just be able to share it, right? And so if we're talking about, like, even metaphorically, like our healing voices and finding our voice and sharing our voice, like that was a major journey to go through. And now I love it. I don't care. Like, like, you don't like it, oh well, like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Totally. Yeah, it is such a finding our voices. Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
Just whether it's singing, whether it's we it's, you know, I think about I never thought I was creative, right? I because in art class I remember like drawing something and just like looking at mine compared to everybody else's, and I was like, I'm like, and I literally just was like, I'm just not creative. I'm an athlete, but I'm not I'm not an artist. I'm not creative, you know. And yet, holy crap, as I've grown this last 6-7 years, mainly the last 7 years, I'm like, I'm creative. I'm constantly thinking of like creatives, like, but it's amazing how we get these labels that kind of shut down whatever these little, you know, it'd be, I mean, even on the, you know, on the playground when you're, you know, getting picked 5th or picked last or whatever, you know, these little messages you get, and then you're like, oh, I'm not an athlete, or I'm not an artist, or I'm not a singer, or I'm not a, and it's like, actually, that's somebody projecting their own crap onto you. Like, you don't have to own that not being an artist. You don't have to own that not being an athlete, or you know, anyway.
So true. I mean, and that's part of the journey. The journey is to strip away what other people label you as and get back to the core of who you really are. We're all creators, right? We all create our homes, our lives, our jobs, our goals. We're constantly creating a reality for ourselves. And so we are all creative. We're all creators. It's just understanding that that's what you're doing, right? You're not just being and it's just happening. You're choosing things. And so you've always been a creator. Right. You've always been creative. And then, you know, when you choose to start that healing journey and to get in touch with your authentic self, most of it starts with trying to go as far back in your childhood as you can to when you were you and you didn't do things for money and you didn't do things for approval. You just enjoyed them. It's mostly when you're playing. It's when you're in your room alone. You know, what were you doing? More than likely, that's who you are. So if you can get back to that and remember how that felt, you can start the healing journey. It's that simple.
Oh my gosh, what's hilarious is like 2 silly visuals like popped into my brain as you're telling.
I want to hear the visuals.
I literally had like cowboy boots as a little kid, and I had a stick with like a little horse donkey, like a horse head on it, and I don't remember even having a hat, and I know I didn't have any clothes on, and I literally was just running around the house on this like little, like with my shoes and my little horsey. And I was like, that's what literally just prompted, you know,
You're a
and
cowboy.
it's not,
There it is.
it's like, it's not shocking that I, you know, that I bought 4 onesies and made a bunch of like at 39 years old, I bought onesies off of Amazon to make silly dance videos. I mean, because I love that. It's so fun. And it's like, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm just going back and imagining, like, I'm like, wow, it is wild, right?
When you said that and you were just like, you know, nothing, I wasn't wearing anything else. I'm like, well, it's like when you go running, you just have your shorts on. You don't have a shirt on. You don't have pants on. You're just, you know, it's like, that's your most authentic, like natural state. And you feel comfortable that way. And so it's an expression of already what you are and how happy you are just being you know, in those moments. And that's what we've all experienced in different ways, you know? So like, I remember, you know, being 10 or whatever, or 11, and going down to the basement where people would throw out their paint and they would throw out their like decorative things, and then just going through all of this stuff, bringing it upstairs, painting my own room by myself, and like putting up wallpaper border, and like making my closet just like where all my friends could like sign their names, and like all of that creativity was in me. And so when I got my home and my space, I was like, you know what? I want to tap back into the girl who was decorating her own room when she was little. And I'm going to decorate my home that way. And I'm going to enjoy that energy of creativity that I had then. And so anytime we can do that, like, even if you're just beginning your journey and you're like, how do I start you know, working on my self-healing, tap into the things that you loved to do them for fun. Don't put the pressure of perfection on it, and just keep doing that, you know, singing, drawing, decorating, whatever it is, running around, you know, in your underwear with a horsey and boots, whatever makes you happy, just do it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes. All right, Nikki. So this has been glorious. I love hanging out with you. I love hanging out with you. I really am so thankful to have you here and to be a part of this. I've got a kind of a closing question imagine a room full, you know, of 20,000, and they're like, Nikki Gomez is the freaking headliner, and she's dropping some wisdom, and she's telling us her stories, and she's telling us, I mean, this is what you've been rocking it. Thank you so much for bringing all the nuggets you've been bringing. What would you like? And you're down near the end, and they're like, okay. And maybe you're doing like a little mini summary of like, all right, here are two or three pieces that I really want to make sure people walk away with, you know, and to chew on, to work through, to breathe with. Anyway, curious to know what you might offer the room full of 20,000.
Okay. So just, you know, just even in the same thread of what we're talking about, right? Do what brings you joy, and do it authentically for your joy, not for likes, not for followers, not for money, you know, do it for you, because everything else that's meant to come from that will come. So, you know, that's why I do karaoke. That's why I draw. That's why I do the things, because it brings me joy. And then my joy fuels all of the other things that I want to do. And it carries over. So that's first and foremost. I would say, don't care what other people think. As long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else. Like, if you feel fulfilled in something, if you feel called to something, stay on that path and don't care what other people think. Because what ends up happening, unfortunately, is we end up taking the advice of people who are not aligned with our core values. And when you do that, you infuse fear, you infuse doubt, you infuse all of these things into your journey that otherwise you wouldn't have. So do what brings you joy, go after the things you want to go after, and don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the best way to go about it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, please. Yes, please. Man. Oh, so good. So good, Nikki. Yeah, everybody who hopped on, whether you watched this on YouTube or joined us via podcast, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, being a part of this episode 27 of Our Healing Voices. Nikki Gomez, you're a rock star. I'm so thankful I met you through Facebook.
Likewise.
Now we get to just continue to evolve and shift and move and create on the path together. Like, I'm so thankful and just excited to see who may connect with you via this, who you'll get connected with. And yeah, because you have such beautiful offerings. Do you mind just sharing to kind of close, like, as like people who are interested in this, or if they're interested in this, like where, and I'll post your links and everything, but
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're on the modeling journey and you want to know how to make it in the business, I have 17 years experience in every side. So feel free to find me on Instagram, the Nikki Gomez. My website is the Nikki Gomez. You kind of can't forget it. It's all the same thing. Mm-hmm. And then also, if you're interested in angelic reiki healing, you can find me at, again, the Nikki Gomez. I also have Uma's Gaia. That's UMASGAIA. And that is, I have an Instagram for that and a website by the same name. And again, it's high vibrational, angelic energy, and it's magical, and we can do it virtually or we could do it in person if you're in Tulsa. And goodness, I'm like, what else do I offer? I offer a lot of things, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's primarily, those are the main things that I'm focused on right now. And so, and of course, photography. If you're in the Tulsa area, the Nikki Gomez, you can see a lot of my work there as well. And I travel. So whenever I go to New York, I'll let you know on Instagram, as well as California or anywhere else. And we can always connect and make beautiful photos together.
Love it. And if somebody was like, hey, I need to bring you to this event, or I need to bring you to this retreat, or, like, I'm curious on, you would be open to those sorts of possibilities.
Absolutely.
And then as far as like honestly, as I hear you talk, I'm like, holy moly, just transformational coaching. I mean, anyway,
I'm open to all the things that are meant to come through based on my experience in life. I think that is my biggest message, is I'm trying to live the most aligned life that I can, that is an expression of all that I have to offer. So whether it be wisdom and knowledge, whether it be skill and trade, whether it be healing, I am here for it. I am getting more speaking opportunities, and so I will be reflecting that more on my website very soon, working on it, because I'm open to that, and I'd love to share with anybody that needs it.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so grateful, Nikki. And yeah, just super appreciative. And those of you who joined, thanks for being here. I know Nikki and I were cheering you on as you continue to evolve, continue to say yes to baby steps. The healing journey is just one day at a time, and so whatever you're doing today, wherever you're at, just sending you love that you can keep taking that courageous next step in whatever you're walking through. Anyway, blessings, y'all. And that is episode 27 of Our Healing Voices. Thank you, Nikki Gomez.
Thank you.